must be 64-bit server running Windows 2008 or later. So is it possible to have a non-64-bit? Yes, it is possible, because 2008 you still have the 32-bit, but since R2 you only have 64-bit, right? So your computer must comply with any BIOS settings requirements specified by Microsoft. That's normal. Windows 2000 is not Hyper-V aware, so you cannot take only crash consistent smart copies. I don't think anyone used Windows 2000. Okay, so we can ignore that. But it's something good to know. Hyper-V requirements and constraint. Integration services, virtual guest services. Yes, it needs to have that. Otherwise, the Hyper-V host will not be able to talk to the guest OS. So same thing with VMware, right? You need to have VMware tools. Nothing fancy about that. SMME only support operations supported by the Hyper-V writer, of course, because EQL relies on VSS, and then VSS needs to talk to Hyper-V. So only something that Hyper-V support, then ASM can do. Install SMME on the VM for full use of all features. Okay. Now, there's a note in here. VM must be a direct connected guest. What is a direct connected guest? Which means it basically bypassed the hypervisor. So the initiator actually sits on the guest OS. So I want to get the pen there. So the initiator must sit on the guest OS. Next, SMME automatically detects multiple writer objects and prevents you from creating multiple writer smart copy set. So that's a feature in ASM. Okay, this is the consideration. Again, this is a typical NIC, so I'm not gonna deep dive about it. Minimum is 2 physical NICs, you already know. If you have iSCSI, at least 4, because you will have 2 for your SAN, okay? Because that's for redundancy purposes. Plan additional NIC as needed. Yeah, of course, if you have failover cluster, expansion, additional bandwidth, then you need to add more NICs. You don't want something that you don't want to have is mixing anything with this, okay? You don't want your vMotion. Again, I'm not too familiar with Hyper-V, but similar function as vMotion going through your iSCSI network, or your traffic, LAN traffic. You don't want to go to this one, okay? So it's recommended for you to have a dedicated NIC for SAN only. Also, this is something is, I would say, unique for EQL. Probably all for all Dell storage iSCSI. I have a question actually. Do you configure NIC teaming for iSCSI NIC to increase bandwidth?
iSCSI dito sa atin. Yata. Ay, hindi.
Anyone can answer that?
TV? Ah. Ito na yun. Standard naman yung lagi effort ang ICT.
Anyone can answer that, Richard?
Ano ka lang?
Do you configure NIC teaming for iSCSI?
Teaming po. Teaming.
iSCSI,
Alam ko yes.
no. You can only team
Correct.
physical network or physical port.
Yes. Very, very good. So you never ever configure NIC teaming for iSCSI because MPIO will handle that functionality. Okay. So during my tenure working for Dell, I've probably seen 1 or 2 cases where engineer who deployed actually configured NIC teaming for iSCSI, and that creates lots of problem with availability. Okay, so no teaming, no team. All right, let's move. Network consideration for virtual network. Again, I don't want to go through in details about this. You already know. This is Hyper-V disk consideration. Okay, I would like to cover this. This is the 3 type of Hyper-V disk configuration that Hyper-V support. First is virtual hard disk. So this is a typical virtual hard disk where you create a volume in EQL. Then you present that volume to your Hyper-V, and then Hyper-V will format it with VHD. And then you create a volume in that VHD. Sorry, not formatted with VHD, but that's where VHD is actually sitting. Okay, in that Windows volume. Most likely this is NTFS. Okay. And the second option is pass-through. This is similar to VMware. You probably know this already. It's similar to raw device mappings. So volume is presented to parent partition as a raw disk. All right. Offer higher performance than VHD. And then what other option is called direct connect. What is direct connect? So the guest OS connected directly to the EQL, which means it bypasses the hypervisor. Okay, so it only used the it's just going through the vSwitch, but it actually bypassed the hypervisor altogether. This feature doesn't support boot from SAN. Okay, so if you want to have a boot sector, you need to set it in here. So your C drive needs to be on the VHD, but your Exchange, for example, can have configuration like this.
You can use mixes of all of them.
What do you
You
mean?
can use like a mix of a virtual hard disk and a direct connect hard disk.
You can have mix of these, but again, possibly you cannot create snapshots correctly because not some of these doesn't support. So virtual hard disk, this is the advantage. So it formatted on the parent partition. It hosts VMs and VM files. Right? It supports VM checkpoints. It supports this functionality, host backup, host-based backup, and then it has great portability for exporting VM to new location. There's limitation as well, is 2 terabyte for only with 2008, but doesn't apply for 2012. And then resource, not resource hungry, but it requires some resources to manage the I/O requests. Okay, So if you have IO-intensive application, such as a database application, then VHD is not recommended. It's better for you to use direct attach or pass-through. Pass-through, it supports greater than 2 terabyte, greater performance, can be set up to boot guest OS. Now, this is the disadvantages. Do not support Hyper-V VSS VM checkpoint. So this is not really compatible with ASM, right? It doesn't support VM profitability through export operation, and then does not support live migration. So this is a feature related to Hyper-V, nothing to do with EqualLogic ASM. Direct Connect, this is the advantage. Support greater than 2 terabyte, can be protected with VSS aware backup applications. And then this is the disadvantage, not supporting by Hyper-V VSS, but you can actually install ASM inside the guest OS. You cannot use as a boot device for guest OS. Okay, so like I said, you need to put that boot device on your VHD, and then you can create another drive and then connect directly to your EqualLogic. So this is the unsupported configuration. This is, again, be careful, this is ASM-ME hypervisor level. So direct attach, it support if you have ASM-ME installed on the VM itself, okay? The pass-through, of course, doesn't support it. This is how you protect your virtual machine, okay? It requires Hyper-V integration service, ensures consistency of the VM state by backing up configuration of the VM, any virtual machine snapshot associated with that VM, and the VHD used by that VM. This is the Hyper-V configuration support by ASM-ME. As you can see in here, it needs to go via the iSCSI initiator, which sits on the parent operating system. What that means is you cannot have iSCSI initiator in here on the guest OS, right? It needs to be sitting in here. This is the process. It's similar process to when you are backing up using a backup software with ASM. Okay, so ASM-ME calls the Hyper-V VSS writer again to create smart copy, and then follow the sequence there, right? So it talks to integration service. And then so on and so forth, and then eventually it creates the snapshots of the volume. This is the step-by-step guide. So you actually select the server from the application again. Now you know where you need to start taking snapshots or smart copies in here. And click Create Smart Copy. And then either you want to do snapshot or clone or replica. Again, replica you need to use you need to have your replication configured already. And also, creation of replica is only supported for Hyper-V components on CSV on Windows 2008 R2. That's the caveats as well. That's the summary when you create smart copy. Again, the recovery options, you can restore selected VMs, restore all VMs, or restore as new. You already know what restore as new is. You can restore this to a different host. This is an example if you want to select VM. In here, unfortunately, we only have one server 2012, so we only have one option. But if you have multiple servers, you can actually do that. And then just click restore. And that's end of module 11. Any questions? No?
Answer.
Okay. All right. We'll finalize this training with module 12. Before we start, I'm just letting you know that module 12 is actually a quick module as well. It only covers high level of the feature because we have a specific training for VMware. Okay, so let's go through quickly. All right. Again, this is about VMware integration. Overall, this is the supported integration that we have with VMware. I'm just going to end this slide first, and then I'm going to enable editing. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay, so VSM is similar to ASM-ME, but this is for VMware. It supports VAI, and then it supports SRM, or Site Recovery Manager, and SRA is the agent for EQL logic, what we call Storage Replication Adapter. All right. vSphere, you already know, we're gonna skip. This is what ESXi is, virtualized CPU, memory, NIC, and disk. We know that. This is the typical files in VMware. You know that already. I'm not gonna cover it. This is a vCenter. Yeah, you know yourself about what vCenter is. Okay, I'm not gonna cover that. Now, this is the integration. Again, it supports those four major integration. So you have your VAI, starting firmware version 6 and above. Okay, so this is the feature in VAI that EQL support: full copy, hardware assisted locking, zero offload, thin provision stun, and reclaim. Reclaim is similar to unmap. Okay. MEM is multipath extension module. This is similar to MPIO in HitKit, but this is for VMware only. The only requirements if you want to use MEM is you need to have VMware or ESX Enterprise Plus and above. You cannot have Essential Plus. If you have Essential Plus, then it doesn't support MEM. Virtual Storage Manager. Okay, so this is for functionality similar to ASM-ME. You can see the name already similar. Smart Copies, Data Store Manager, and VASA. We'll talk about VASA a bit, deep dive a bit later, okay? And then you have Site Recovery Manager, or SRM, which is SRA is the adapter for EQLogic. Also, by the way, all these features are free in EQLogic, so you don't need to pay. VSM 4.1 introduced support for vvol. Okay, anyone knows about vvol? Vvol only applies to which VMware version? Okay, it only applies to VMware 6. Okay, so you cannot use vvol in VMware 5.5 or 5.1 or 5 or below that. What vvol does, it provides a significantly different storage architecture, because you don't present as a VMDK anymore. Okay, the iSCSI initiator works differently. It uses what we call mount point, I think. Right, but it's just a totally different storage architecture. There is a specific module just talk about vvols, and then that's not part of this course, unfortunately. So this is a VAI summary. Right, so for zero offload, what you need is this is the firmware 5, and then this is the VMware version. Okay, so you can check yourself on your free time. This is not too critical, you can read it. And then this is a brief example of vvols. What's today's challenge? You can see from here, EQLogic doesn't know the relationship, because it just presents volume to vSphere, and then vSphere will manage everything. Okay, so VMware is trying to integrate better with the storage. What they introduce is a vvol, where VM it's actually sitting on the EQLogic volume. So with VSM, right, you can see all this information. You can manage this from VSM, where you provision your VMs, you resize it, and things like that. All the operation is done by a VSM, which interacts with vSphere through VASA. Okay, so that's the overall high level of vvols. If you're asking me, has anyone called to you asking about vvols? We probably had one call since V6 was introduced. So it's a very, very small number of customers using vvol. VSM is a vCenter plugin. It's a free. It's based on CentOS virtual appliance. It contains data store manager snapshots and VMware API for VASA. So this is high level about SRA, which is part of SRM. So like I mentioned, you have 2 sites here. One is called protected site, one is recovery site. You have a replication between the two. You install SRA in here, and then SRA in here. And then what you can do is SRM will make sure all your VM in here that sits on your production array. This is DR, by the way. in case production is down, it will then move to your recovery site, and then you can bring all your VM online straight away. Okay, you can promote that into your DR straight away. This SRA is free. However, SRM is a license requires for you to purchase from VMware. So let's put things together. So you have your EQL, you have your application, virtual machine, your physical infrastructure, and your data center protection. So with the application level, you have your ASMME. Remember, you can actually have your exchange on a virtual environment, and then you can create smart copies. So you have your application protected. With virtual machine, you use VSM. With physical infrastructure, you rely on HA, and also the EQL where it has full redundancy in terms of everything. So you have dual controllers, dual power supply, so on and so forth. So this is pretty much an end-to-end solution where you want to make sure that you have a fully protected environment against disaster. Okay, and then lastly, if you have a data center down, you can use SRM. All right, so that's pretty much the end of our training this week. So there are a total of 12 modules, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to take that right now. Otherwise, we can continue doing labs. Any questions, Richard and team over there?
Easy.
You have any question? Clarification? So meaning the laboratory can be extended up until this week?
I have put that request through. However, I still haven't received any updates from the US team. Like I said yesterday, most likely you should be able to have access to that lab until the weekend.
Okay.
Okay. I'll try my best to get that sorted for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So if there is no questions, then I'll end this training. I'll thank you for your participation. It was a great training. I think you raised lots of questions, which makes this training, more alive rather than I'm just presenting this over WebEx and then no one actually commenting my training. So I really thank you about that, and then I wish that you enjoy this training, and I looking forward for the next training with your team over there.
Okay. Sir, just want just a few questions.
Sure.
This is a personal. Are you based in Australia or are you in Penang? Are you?
I'm actually based in Australia, in Sydney.
Okay.
Yes. And even though it's showing up as Alan Bernard, my name actually is Stuart. So,
Okay.
okay, there is we just fixed my account. My account just active this week. So next time if you see me under name Stuart, yeah, you probably know me because of this training. Okay.
Sir, do we have sir, how about for the support for Ecologic?
Okay,
Can you walk us on the process?
sure.
Okay.
So by default, each EQLogic unit it's sold with Pro support. Okay. For South Asia, your support will be based most likely in Penang. However, you have level 2 and level 3 located in Penang to help you. In case a case get escalated, then we have team around globe. So our team in Australia also looking after APJ. So I was previously the level 2 for APJ, and then I look after Ecologic from around South Asia as well. So that's pretty much how the support level works in a region perspective. You will go to your region support. If your region support can't resolve it, then it will go to higher level. And then if APJ can't resolve it, then it will go to US support, which is based in Nashua. Okay, is that answer your question, Richard?
Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, everyone. I'll put myself into mute. Go ahead and complete your exercise, your lab exercise, until 8 o'clock Sydney time, or I think 5 o'clock your time.
Yep.
I'm here to help you. Just raise your hand from WebEx or just speak up, and I'm more than happy to help you out.
All right.
Again,
All right.
thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Oh, by the way, I think you will receive a questionnaire from our team about this training. So feel free to put a feedback for me in case you feel that anything that we can do better next time. I really love to hear any feedback from you and your team there.
No problem, sir.
Okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you also.
Thanks, Alan.
Okay.
Alright,
Guys,
game,
sige.
Sep. Tapos tuloy mo na, Sep.
Uy, tapusin nyo na.